Back by popular demand. What's going on, grasshoppers? Chun is back. Got a 4th gen roulette match for you guys today against Cote, and this is one of the best roulette matches I've ever had, if not the best one. But if you guys don't know who he is, which many of you I think do, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below. Feel free to check him out. He picked a lot of setup guys for me on this one. I've got 2 stealth rockers, a dual screener, and a dual spiker. So I come up with a quick rough draft of what I plan to do, and it's to set up as many layers of hazards as I can and as many screens as I can. Try to phase a few things around and then try to clean up with the 2 attackers that I do have. So he gets a great lead in Scarm, and I get a Roselia that I forgot to evolve. So this is the dual spiker, so I immediately go for the layer of spikes, having no idea what he has in store for me, seeing as it's the first turn. But unfortunately, he is going to outspeed me, and he's going to go for the taunt. So it looks like this is the textbook taunt Scarm lead. I wasn't sure of Roselia's base speed at first, but I found out afterwards that it is slightly lower than Scarm's, and being a dual spiker, I have no speed invested at all. So I'm immediately a turn behind. I know he'll go for his own layer, and I go to Empoleon, who is one of my rockers, but now he's revealed taunt. I have to go for the attack, so I immediately go for Surf to try to put pressure on it, but he switches to Melodic. I do have Hidden Power Electric, but I didn't want to reveal that yet. So looks like this Melodic's defensive, because it took literally 10% from Surf. And this Empoleon is especially defensive as well, but I am running an alternate spread, which you will see later on. And these next 2 turns are very, very crucial, but you guys will see that later. He goes for Toxic, predicting the switch, which was surprising to me. And then he's going to go for the Toxic again, figuring I set up Rock, so I have nothing better to do, but I stay in and go for the Roar. And at the time I thought he didn't even have Hidden Power at all, since he didn't go for it the last turn. So I figured Roar was a safe play, and I could either see more of his team or bring Scarm back in to get some damage on it, who is the biggest threat to me right now. But I do get to see Regirock. Thought about this turn for a while, since I know Regirock can run a few sets, but the most common ones are Curse and Rock Polish. Don't want to stay in to take an Earthquake, since it's early in the match, and he might want damage first, so I stick to the plan and try to get as many layers as I can. And then I plan to just fodder Roselia out. In hindsight, it was kind of a bad play, because I do have something that resists Quake Edge, and I should have brought that in instead, which is a Bronzong actually, instead of bringing a Roselia in to fodder it out. But I don't realize that until after I bring it in, but I figured it's too late to do anything about it now. Just get a layer of Toxic Spikes down, get what I can. So now I'm going to bring Bronzong in. And I figured Explosion is going to round out the set, but I also figured I could live 1. And I'm going to go ahead and set up my first screen here, which is Reflect. And he's actually going to go back to Scarm after thinking for a while on his part here. And I did see Taunt earlier, so I didn't want to risk trying to go for the light screen and wasting a turn. So after Reflect, I am going to switch back to Empoleon to try to get some damage on Scarm, since if it gets too many layers of spikes, it's going to be really bad for my team, although I do have a spinner. I need to try to keep hazards off the field. Hazards play a huge factor in this game as well, but you guys will see later on. He does make a very nice play here, goes for spikes immediately as I go into Empoleon. And I only have 1 Pokemon that can do serious damage to Scarm, but I need to get prior damage on it first so I can one-shot it. But at the same time, I can't get too much damage on it, because he'll panic and just roost it off. So even if he didn't go for Taunt, though, if I stayed in with Bronzong, it might have been bad, since even though I get both screens up, he'd have a full layer of spikes down, which really isn't the greatest trade-off, in my opinion, at least with this team that I got. Not quite sure what my thought process was over the next 2 turns. Most likely predicted Melodic to switch in, so I went for HP Electric first. He decides that instead of going to Melodic again, to stay in and go for the final layer of spikes, since he hadn't seen a spinner yet. I then most likely figured since I revealed HP Electric, he might go to a possible ground type to get it in for free and threaten a fast earthquake. So I switched back to Surf, and I was surprised that it actually did slightly more damage than HP Electric. But it could have been min-max variation since the damage is pretty close between the two. But he decides to stay in after seeing that my attacks weren't doing too much and just whirlwind me out to get some hazard damage. I do get Bronzong, which kind of is the worst possible switch in, but kind of isn't. I still don't want to stay in, seeing as he has taunt and is faster, but the worst thing that can happen is that I switch out and he whirlwinds me again, and I get damage, spikes damage on my guys for nothing. So I stay in predicting the whirlwind, just go for the gyro ball since I want to get a chance to set up screens first before blowing up. But he stays in though, makes another good play in Roost, figuring I can't hurt him. I thought he might not try it though, since Bronzong can carry Earthquake as well, but it worked out great for him. But now he knows I can't do anything to him, since the last move is obviously Explosion. But there's really nothing I can do but sit and just go for Gyro Ball, since I don't want to give him free damage with Whirlwind. And Bronzong is the only thing I have that's not affected by spikes, even though I do have a spinner. But he actually switches to Melodic to try to get me to blow up since Marble Scale's activated. Using Explosion out is tempting since I need to get damage on Melodic as well, but the rest of my team for the most part is pretty frail, so I need to get up screens first. And now that I have that chance, I decided to go ahead and set up Light Screen, try to go from there. He actually switches out again, thinking I already had Light Screen up, and he goes into Regirock to try to bait the Explosion. But I've got 2 more turns of Reflect left, and the only way I know he can damage me with Regirock is Explosion, since he can't Rock Polish and everything else I resist. So he explodes now though, and I still don't want to blow up yet until I get Reflect back up. So he brings Smeargle in on the free switch in. Reflect wears off this turn, which is unfortunate because I know the Spore is coming. But I don't want anything else to go to sleep though, so I'm going to stay in to take the Spore. I have no idea what he's planning, but either this is a Smeargle with a bunch of hazards, which isn't so bad, or it's a Baton Pass set, which could get very bad, as you guys will see. But I'm going to switch out here and go to Donphin so I can hopefully spin the spikes away to make things easier for the rest of my team. He does reveal Belly Drum though, and I'm thinking this could be really bad. I'm hoping Regirock was the only thing he could pass to, but in hindsight, he must have something else. Otherwise, why would he even go for it? And he does reveal the Salac Berry here as well, so I took a while in this turn. I got the notion that he was going to pass to something like Charizard, which if it is, it might be good game. But because of that, didn't want to go for Earthquake. I don't have Ice Shard on this Donphin, although I do have Assurance and Seed Bomb. Don't want to go for either of those because I'm pretty sure he's going to pass to something I haven't seen yet, and I didn't want that Pokemon coming in on a resisted move. I just decided to stick with the plan and just go for the Rapid Spin and hope for the best. The fact that he had Salac Berry made me fear Charizard even more, but he passes the boost off to a Ninjask though, and it takes pathetic damage from Rapid Spin. However, the spin turns out to be a huge play and will be proof of how powerful hazards are in this game over the next few turns. Now I'm thinking, well, this sucks. It's a good game. I'm gonna get ninja'd. It's over. Not much happens here. I figured he'd most likely attack, but I went for Assurance, hoping that maybe Ninjask was a Baton Pass set. He might get greedy, set up some more. But he promptly takes Donphin out with an X-Scissor. And now this turn is very crucial, and I really only have one switch in at this point. I say that because I didn't see Leftovers Recovery or Life Orb Recoil, so I was figuring he was choiced in some way, most likely banded. I go to Empoleon, decide to go for the Roar for 2 reasons. I'm slower, so I don't want to mess around trying to attack it and not get the one-hit KO. And I figured Stealth Rock will take it out the next time it comes in anyway. And look at that, I live with 6 HP, get the Roar off. That's 68 defense EVs for the win. Needless to say, I was ecstatic. If I hadn't spun the spikes away earlier, I would not have lived. The 2 turns where he tried to predict by going for Toxic instead of HP Electric, those were big plays as well for me, because otherwise I wouldn't have lived if that was the case either. and I think he thinks here for a while after realizing that Empoleon actually lived the hit. I did the math later on, and essentially that was a plus 10 X Scissor because Choice Band does factor in. So I also realized that I'm positive he was Jolly, because if he was Adamant he still would have took me out even if I was at full. So, but it's not over yet. I still have to do some tricky plays to get past his Scarm and Melodic, otherwise they can potentially wall me. He's gonna bring Melodic in here on the free switch, finish me off with the Surf as my light screen goes down. Useless crit, pretty much. I think he would have taken me out regardless. Because I'm not max special defense, because I have defense EVs a little bit. But because the rest of my guys are pretty frail, I'm gonna go back to Bronze Zone with the hopes of waking up so I can set up screens again. I know he has to go for Surf if he plans to take down Bronze Zone with Melodic, which is the worst case scenario, or switch, and in either case I'm burning a turn of sleep. So he decides to recover first, since I've only burned one turn of sleep so far, but I get the second turn wake up and I set up a light screen in his face. So things are turning around for me, definitely. But this turn he's gonna try to go back to trying to bait my explosion by going back to Ninjax to fodder it out. But I want both screens up first before doing that, and Reflect had worn off earlier, so I set that up again. So at least now that tells me his last is not a spinner, so Stealth Rock is going to stay on the field. He goes back to Scarm, both screens are up now, and Bronzong has more than done its job. So it is time to blow up. I'm either going to get Scarm, Melodic, or his last. If he stays in, I get a free switch into the only thing I can use to finish that off, Hitmonlee. If he goes to Melodic, I can still go to Hitmonlee or go to my last, which is Pinsir. And I just have to hope his last isn't a ghost. Though it probably wouldn't have been, since he would have revealed it already from trying to bait Explosion earlier. But I do get Scarm. He goes for Spikes over Roost. And I bring Hitmonlee in. The next move is obvious for me. This is an Expert Belt Hitmonlee, so I can bluff the choice item, and I carry Blaze Kick. And I figured he'd stay in since Blaze Kick isn't that common on Hitmonlee, and Close Combat would not have done the job, since again I'm Expert Belt and not Life Orb. Thankfully he stayed in, Blaze Kick didn't miss. I do take out the Scarm. In hindsight, had he roosted last turn, he actually had a chance to live the Blaze Kick if it was the standard taunt Scarm. So he brings Melodic back in, and the best move I could go for is Close Combat, but it's not going to one-hit KO, especially since he has Marvel Scale activated, and he can just recover spam until I get enough drops and then one-hit KO me with Surf, regardless of light screen. So bluffing the choice item could be beneficial as well in case this gets really tight. So I reveal my last, which is Pinsir, my other Stealth Rocker, but I randomly had Akaberry on it, so I just plan to spam X Scissor here and hope that between damage and poison it does enough to where he can't spam recover. And the only other move I have is Superpower, which wouldn't be good at all for obvious reasons. He actually went for Surf, which kind of stunk since I could have stayed in with Hitmonlee to 2-hit KO it since I outspeed. But Pinsir did only take half thanks to Light Screen. I just keep spamming X Scissor, and there's some min-max variation going on between poison and damage. Melodic's taking roughly 50%, so it's pretty much up in the air here. Cote did try to recover stall just to see how things would play out, but instead he does go to Glaceon after seeing that I'm spamming X Scissor. He was thinking I was Scarfed at the time, and I see it doesn't do that much, so it's physically defensive. So even with poison, it's still a 3-hit KO. He goes for the Ice Beam, but I had one turn of a light screen left, so I live it just barely, and I take out the Glaceon. So he's gonna bring Melodic in again, who is his last now, and from here I just have to maintain constant pressure by spamming X Scissor. But I have to hope to either get a crit or die on a turn where Melodic is at 50% or less. He does try to recover, spam recover just to see how things will play out. Eventually though, he is going to try to go for the Toxic since there's actually variation in damage going on, and I am going to take it out for the win. But looking back at his side of the battle, he was actually recovering slightly more damage, slightly more than the damage I was doing with X Scissor. He was getting back anywhere from 5 to 10 HP. But something else I was taking into consideration here was the amount of recovers he had left. versus how many X scissors I had, since he couldn't afford to attack me or he would lose. And I had a pretty good idea of how many he had left in case I needed to PP stall, since X scissor has more PP than recover if I recall correctly. I also knew close combat from Hitmonlee would do more damage than X scissor was doing, so that's another factor, but this still would have been a really close match, unless I got a crit, of course, which would have been ironic given our last match. But this was an excellent game, Cote. This was the best roulette match I've ever had, ever. I don't think anything else I've had comes as close as this. But anyway, guys, leave a like if you guys enjoyed, and until next episode, guys, I'm out. Peace.